My name is Margaret Chin, and I'm 52 years old. 3 months ago, I buried my husband of 12 years while his adult children planned my eviction. Today, I'm renovating what they thought was their inheritance into senior housing, while they scramble to find apartments they can afford. But let me start from the beginning. I met Robert Anderson at a grief support group. We were both widowed, both in our 40s, both trying to figure out how to live again. He was a successful architect who'd lost his wife to cancer. I was a nurse practitioner who'd lost my husband in a car accident. Neither of us was looking for love, but sometimes love finds you anyway. My kids think I'm betraying their mother by being here, he told me over coffee after our third meeting. They don't understand that you can honor the past while still living in the present. Robert had 3 adult children. Melissa, 35, a real estate agent who'd inherited her mother's sharp tongue. Bradley, 33, a financial advisor who saw dollar signs in everything. And Kyle, 30, who'd never held a job longer than 6 months and lived in his childhood bedroom. They're still processing their loss, Robert explained when I first met them. Give them time. But time didn't help. From the moment Robert introduced me, they made it clear I was an unwelcome intruder. Dad's just lonely, Melissa said within earshot at our first family dinner. This won't last. She's after the house, Bradley added, calculating its value on his phone. Look at her, she's obviously not his type. Kyle just glared, clutching a photo of his mother like a shield. Despite their hostility, Robert and I built a beautiful life together. We married 2 years after meeting, a small ceremony his children refused to attend. We traveled, volunteered at the hospital, and filled the house with laughter again. The house, that massive colonial in Westchester that would become the center of everything, had been in Robert's family for generations. 6 bedrooms, 4 acres, worth about $2.8 million in the current market. His children had grown up there, and clearly considered it their birthright. I'll never sell this place, Robert told me early in our marriage. But I want you to feel like it's your home too. I tried to make it our home. I maintained the gardens his late wife had planted, preserved the family photos on the walls, and never changed the children's rooms. Even Kyle's, who at 30 was still living there rent-free, treating me like an unwelcome guest in my own home. Don't go in my room, he'd snap if I tried to clean. And don't touch Mom's things. Kyle, your mother's been gone for 6 years, Robert would say gently. Margaret is my wife now. This is her home too. She'll never be family, Kyle would respond, slamming his door. The others were no better. Melissa would visit only when she needed money, always reminding Robert about preserving the family legacy. Bradley called monthly to discuss estate planning, which meant ensuring I got nothing when Robert died. You need to think about your real family, Bradley said during one visit, sliding papers across the table. This prenup modification would protect the kids' interests. My wife is my real family too, Robert replied, pushing the papers back and signed. And I'll handle my own estate planning, thank you. That's when Robert made the decision that would change everything. Without telling anyone, he transferred the deed to the house to me. I want you to have security, he explained when showing me the documents. My kids have their mother's life insurance, their trusts, their own careers. Well, except Kyle. But you've given up everything to make a life with me. If something happens to me, I don't want you fighting them for your own home. Robert, they'll be furious. Then they'll be furious, he said firmly. This is my decision. You've brought joy back into this house. You've made it a home again, not just a museum to their mother. It should be yours. We kept the transfer quiet. The property taxes and bills still came in Robert's name, and I saw no reason to provoke his children unnecessarily. They already resented me enough. For 5 more years, we lived happily. Robert's health was good, our marriage was strong, and I'd learned to ignore his children's hostility. Melissa would sweep through the house like she owned it. Bradley would make snide comments about gold diggers. And Kyle continued to live in his room, contributing nothing but antagonism. Then Robert had a stroke. It was massive and sudden. One moment he was working in his study, the next he was on the floor. By the time the ambulance arrived, he was gone. My world shattered in an instant. His children arrived at the hospital within hours, but not to comfort me. While I was still in shock, they were already discussing the estate. We'll need to secure the house immediately, Bradley said, not even looking at me. Make sure nothing goes missing. Kyle's already there, Melissa added. He'll keep an eye on things. I need to go home, I said numbly. I need to. It's not your home anymore, Melissa cut me off. You were just Dad's second wife. Now that he's gone, you're nothing to us. I was too grief-stricken to fight. I went home, yes, home, and tried to process the loss of the man I loved while his children circled like vultures. The funeral was a blur. I sat in the front row as his widow, while they acted like I didn't exist. They gave eulogies about their father that pointedly excluded the last 12 years of his life, the years with me. They displayed photos that stopped at their mother's death, as if Robert's life had ended with hers. 3 days later, I was making breakfast when the doorbell rang. Melissa stood there with a manila envelope and a satisfied smile. "Eviction notice," she said, handing it to me. "You have 30 days to vacate the premises." "Excuse me?" "You're not really family," she said, the words sharp as knives. "This is the Anderson family home. Dad's gone, which means it passes to his children, his real family. We've been more than generous, giving you 30 days. Behind her, Bradley and Kyle were directing moving trucks into the driveway. "We're taking inventory," Bradley announced. "Don't even think about removing anything. We have photos of every item in this house." "Where am I supposed to go?" I asked, still reeling. "That's not our problem," Kyle said, speaking directly to me for the first time in years. "Maybe you should have thought about that before you latched onto our father." I looked at the eviction notice, then at the three of them, so sure of their victory. And I made a decision. "You're right," I said quietly. "I'll pack my things." They were surprised by my easy acceptance, but pleased. They spent the next hours walking through the house, discussing renovations and sales strategies, while I packed my personal belongings. "We'll list it for at least $3 million, Melissa said, already calculating her commission. "Split 3 ways, that's $1 million each." "Finally," Kyle added, "I can get my own place. A real place." "Don't forget Dad's investments," Bradley chimed in. "The portfolio alone is worth another $2 million. They were so busy counting their chickens, they didn't notice me making phone calls. On the morning I was supposed to leave, they arrived early. Melissa with a locksmith, Bradley with movers, Kyle with a U-Haul for his belongings. They found me in the kitchen, calmly drinking coffee with several boxes beside me. "Good, you're ready," Melissa said. "We'll do a walkthrough to make sure you haven't taken anything that belongs to the estate." "Of course," I agreed. "But first, there's something you should know." I pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. "Your father transferred the deed to me 5 years ago. This house is mine." The silence was deafening. Bradley grabbed the papers, scanning them with growing horror. This can't be legal," he stammered. "Completely legal," I assured him. "Filed with the county, property taxes paid, all proper documentation. Your father wanted to ensure I'd have a home if anything happened to him. You manipulated him." Melissa shrieked. "You stole our inheritance." "I loved him," I said simply. "And he loved me enough to make sure I'd be secure. The house is mine. You have 30 days to vacate my property." But I live here," Kyle said, his voice small. "You've lived here rent-free for over a decade," I replied. "Your free ride is over. 30 days. They tried everything. Lawyers who confirmed the transfer was legitimate. Accusations of elder abuse that fell apart when they realized Robert had been in perfect health and sound mind when he made the transfer. They even tried public shaming, posting on social media about the evil stepmother who stole their childhood home. It backfired spectacularly. Comments poured in from people who'd known Robert, who'd seen how his children treated me, who remembered how they'd refused to attend our wedding or acknowledge our marriage. "Those kids were horrible to her," one neighbor posted. Robert would be disgusted by their behavior. Bradley was the first to crack. His financial advisor image couldn't survive the scandal of trying to evict a grieving widow. He came to me privately, begging for time to relocate. "I have a reputation," he pleaded. "If this gets out to my clients." 30 days, I repeated. "Just like you gave me." Melissa held out longer, convinced she could break the deed transfer in court. But every lawyer told her the same thing. Robert had every right to transfer his property to his wife. Her real estate colleagues started avoiding her, whispering about karma. Kyle was the most pathetic. At 30, he'd never paid rent, never learned to cook, never really grown up. The prospect of actual independence terrified him. "Where will I go?" he whined. "I can't afford an apartment." "Maybe you should have thought about that before you told me I wasn't really family," I suggested. They all moved out within the 30 days. Bradley to a small apartment, Melissa to a rental, and Kyle to a friend's couch. The moving trucks they'd brought for my eviction ended up carrying their belongings away. But I wasn't done. The house was mine, but it was too big for one person and held too many memories. So I did something that would have made Robert proud. I converted it into senior housing. Not a nursing home, but affordable apartments for elderly people who needed community and support. I named it Robert's Haven. The renovation took 6 months. I converted the 6 bedrooms into 8 smaller units, added accessibility features, and created common areas where residents could gather. I kept Robert's study as a library and maintained the gardens his first wife had planted. Not out of obligation, but because beauty should be preserved. The opening was last month. The local paper covered it, including the backstory of how the house came to be mine. The headline read, "Widow transforms inherited home into senior haven after stepchildren's eviction attempt." Melissa, Bradley, and Kyle all reached out after seeing the article. Not to apologize, they're incapable of that, but to complain about how I'd ruined their reputation and destroyed their father's legacy. "Your father's legacy isn't a house," I told them. "It's how he treated people. He was kind, generous, and saw the best in everyone. Even you 3, though you never deserved it." Last week, I received an application for residency from an unexpected source, Kyle. At 33, he's not a senior, but he's homeless, jobless, and desperate. The friend's couch didn't last long, and his siblings won't help him. "Please," he begged. "I know I was awful to you. I'm sorry. I need help." I looked at this man who'd made my life miserable for 12 years, who'd tried to throw me out of my own home 3 days after I'd lost my husband. And I made a decision Robert would have been proud of. "I can't give you residency," I said. "This is senior housing. But I need a groundskeeper. It pays minimum wage plus a small apartment above the garage. You'd be responsible for maintenance, gardens, helping residents. Think you can handle actual work?" He took the job. He's not great at it yet, but he's learning. Sometimes I see him helping residents with groceries or watering the gardens, and I think maybe there's hope for him yet. Melissa and Bradley haven't spoken to me since the article. I hear through mutual acquaintances that they're struggling. Melissa's real estate business suffered from the scandal, and Bradley lost several major clients. They got their mother's life insurance and trusts, but somehow that's not enough when you've spent your whole life expecting more. My name is Margaret Chin. I'm 52 years old. I was married to a wonderful man whose children tried to erase me from his life the moment he died. They handed me an eviction notice 3 days after his funeral, so certain of their inheritance they'd already brought moving trucks. They forgot to check who actually owned the house. They forgot that their father loved me enough to ensure my security. They forgot that karma has a way of returning the energy you put into the world. Now I live in a small apartment in what was once their childhood home, surrounded by grateful seniors who finally have affordable housing. Kyle tends the gardens his mother planted, finally learning what it means to work for something. And somewhere, I hope Robert is smiling, knowing that his house is still filled with love, just not the kind his children expected. "You're not really family," Melissa said, handing me that eviction notice. She was right. I'm not their family. I'm the woman who loved their father, who made his final years joyful, and who honored his wishes even when it meant standing up to their greed. Family isn't just blood. It's the people who stand by you, who build a life with you, who see you as more than just an inheritance to claim. Robert knew that. His children never learned it. And that's why I'm here and they're not. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video. Stay stunned.